Hey there, friends. Welcome back to some more Shadowrun Dragonfall. When we last left off, we finished up Blitz's run and let Hasenkamp live, because even though he was going to kill us by Meat Grinder's request, but we let him live because we figured out that Meat Grinder was actually double dealing behind his back, and he was like, I'm an accountant. I can't stand for this. And we got some box out of it. We don't know what the box does, so let's go ahead and talk to Blitz and see if he knows what the box does. Blitz. There it is.
Oh, hey, Chief. You're back. And you've got the box, right?
He takes an eager step forward, his hands extended.
Give it here, if you please.
First, we need to have a chat about that whole meat grinder fiasco.
Okay, sure, we can talk about it. Do a little post-mortem up on the op, that sort of thing.
He tries on a smile.
For my part, I'd like to say it went great. I mean, mission accomplished, right? All's well that ends well and all that.
Yeah, in the future, we're going to okay, how's that good? That's an interesting way of putting it.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a complete disaster. I mean, we won, right? And nobody's gonna cut off my thumbs off. No one's gonna cut my thumbs off, and that's what's important. So anyway, was there anything specific that you wanted to go over?
He drums his fingers on the table.
Go on, I'm all ears.
It sounds like you're in the clear with Hasenkamp. Do you have any other debts that I need to worry about?
Nah, nothing worth mentioning. I mean it this time. We've been making good money, and I've paid off everyone else already. You've got nothing more to worry about from me.
Alright, Blitz. I guess you've earned this, whatever it is.
All right, thanks, Chief.
Blitz turns the box over and over in his hands with a huge grin on his face.
Let's plug this puppy in and see what it does.
With a series of deft motions, Blitz pops the plastic cover on an unused expansion slot in his cyber deck and slides the mystery box home. A recessed LED light in the box goes from red to green. He boots up the deck and staring at the code that scrolls across its integrated display.
Huh, well, this is weird. The data hard-coded into this thing is jam-packed with comlink software. Looks like it has protocols for all of the major brands. Sysadmin level tools, too. And then there's something else.
A smile slowly spreads across his face.
This thing's like a master key for communication systems. With this box plugged into my deck, I could hack the comlink of just about anyone in the same room as me.
How's that useful? He scoffs.
Use your imagination, Chief. Just about every security goon in Berlin is wired to a comm system of some kind or another. If I can hijack those comms, then I can use all sorts of confusion in the ranks on our runs. This is one hell of a toy. I can see why Grinder wanted it.
Well, I can't wait to see what you can do with it.
Yeah, Chief.
He grins.
Me neither. So is there anything else you want to talk about, or can I start playing around with this thing?
Yeah, I'm satisfied. It's whatever.
Sure, Chief. What'd you want to talk about?
How's the Emily search going? Any luck with... Oh, yeah, I forgot about the girlfriend. How's the search for your girlfriend?
Yeah, actually, I made some headway. For the first time in a year, I've got a solid lead. I thought I'd looked everywhere. Between my contacts and myself, we scoured all of M's old haunts, both in Meat Space and the Matrix. But what I'd never thought to do was dig for clues in my own cyber deck. So I got a spoon, started digging into it. Tastes like pudding. Nom 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 nom. It seems so obvious now, but from back then I couldn't see it. I mean, she was running from me, right? So why would she leave any breadcrumbs for me to find? Anyway, I did some housekeeping and I discovered something. On the morning that Emily disappeared, some information vanished from my cyber deck as well. She did a good job of covering her tracks, but I can see the signs. She grabbed the file and ran. End of story.
What kind of data are we talking about?
No idea, Chief. I grabbed it on the lark when me and Emily were goofing around in the Matrix. The file was encrypted all to hell, and I could never get it open. I only took a look at the damn thing because she told me not to. She said that security would be too tight and that I'd get myself killed. But I waltzed on in there and took it all the same. You should have seen me, Chief. It was like a thing of beauty. I don't think I'd ever been as much of my A game as I was that day.
Blitz, where did you take this data from?
A corporate database, no big deal.
Which corporation?
Oh, no one important.
Blitz continues smiling at you for a few seconds, then looks away.
I stole it from Aztechology.
A tinge of red crawls on the Blitz's cheeks, and he shuffles his feet.
In hindsight, it may not have been the best of ideas.
You think?
Yeah, I guess. Emily wasn't too impressed either. Our only really big fight was over that stupid file. Anyway, time passed, eventually we made up and laughed the whole thing off. Or at least I thought we did. Truth be told, I forgot all about it until I realized that the data had gone missing.
Alright, so the love of your life took your encrypted file and bailed on you. What are you going to do about it?
I don't know, Chief. This whole incident has me rethinking a lot of things. What if? What if she took the file to protect the Azzies? What if she was with them? I've got to admit, this has me worried. I'm even more torn up now than I was before.
He meets your gaze. You can see the concern gnawing at him.
I don't know what to do, but I'm open to suggestions.
If you've got a direction to look now. If I were you, I'd get back into the Matrix and find her. He nods.
Who am I kidding? You're right. I won't be able to stop thinking about this till I found her. So I might as well keep trying. Thanks, Chief. You've been a huge help.
Best of luck. Let me know how it turns out.
I will, Chief. I will.
So, more backstory. Looks like it's going to be more backstory kind of day. Because we still have lots of people. We even have to look at the DVD. But first, money. Do I have any money? No messages, but do I get... Aha! How should I make? 387. And the jobs directory I still have. Oh, claim payment for the farmer cleanup job. Sweet. 2,500. You submit the job as finished and you wait your client's response. A few minutes later, a message pops up on the screen. An excellent job, Sultan Mcfarkles. You are a credit to your profession, and I would not hesitate to hire you again. Your fee will be transferred to your account immediately. A moment later, a second message pops into your inbox. Your payment details. 15,000. Deductions from crew is 4. Ammunition's 1. For Alice Fund 75. Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. So we have what now? How much? We have 5,600. It's actually quite a bit. We could probably go spend some money sometime soon. Oh, first off, do I need to replace? Yes, I do. Go ahead and go boop and boop. There. I had to restock my stuff. So we talked to Blitz. Let's go ahead and see what Dietrich's been up to. Dietrich raises the bottle at your approach.
Hey again, boss. You need something?
Yeah, I was thinking about what you told me earlier. You said that your idol was going to make you pick a fight that you couldn't win. He shrugs.
It's bound to happen eventually. Probably sooner rather than later.
Isn't there something you can do to stop that from happening?
Well, I suppose I could refuse, but that wouldn't be a good idea. Especially not now. Remember, boss, the Dragon Slayer's where my magic comes from. If I turn away from him, you better believe that he'll turn away from me. Besides, which I don't even know if I can refuse him anymore. He's been with me so long, I don't know where he stops and I begin. Don't worry about me, boss. I've known that this was coming my entire life. And when it happens, I'll go down in a blaze of glory of the likes of which you can't even imagine. That's a promise.
What if you were to pick a fight with a different kind of dragon? Say maybe a gang or a corporation. Oh, I didn't mean to click that one. Wait, it does want me to kill dragons. That ain't supposed to be the safe or easy. Ah, here we go. He pauses for a moment. That's an interesting idea. But if it were big enough and heinous enough, he might be satisfied. I've never tried to bargain or negotiate with the Dragon Slayer before. I'm not sure how I feel about it. And I don't know he would take it either. The Dragon Slayer doesn't like to be questioned, and his temper's even shorter than mine. I'll tell you what, boss, I'll think about it. Alright, nothing right now. Okay, so he's thinking about it. And let's go talk to Jaeger. Jaeger Bombastic.
Zelton Mcfarkles.
Do you trust me, Jaeger? She pauses for a moment, considering. Finally, she nods. We've got the trust of you. Finally, it's only taken 23 episodes, but she likes us now.
Yeah, I do. You've earned that much. Haven't always agreed with your decisions, Zelton Mcfarkles, but you've proven yourself competent. It's only fair for me to acknowledge it.
Then tell me what happened to your team.
This again? Why do you even care, Zelton Mcfarkles?
Because it's pretty clear that if you had your way, you'd still be with them. And a good leader places a priority in knowing his team. She nods slowly. I like how I read the same thing, but I read it not right. She slowly nods.
All right, I'll tell you. I suppose you deserve to know. What happened to us was Hoffman. He was a rookie, the kid of some big money corporate exec. He took on he looked good on paper, and he made it through KSK training. So he was technically qualified to join the team, but he was way too green to fit with ours. Still, he wanted to be a hero, and his family had enough clout to get him on assignment of his choosing. I don't know how many strings Hoffman's daddy had to pull to get him assigned to our team, but he pulled them. Hoffman became our 9th squad mate, despite Metzger's objections. Anyway, flash forward a few weeks while we're closing in on one of Russia's mob's major trafficking operations. They'd been using a series of warehouses 50 miles from the border as a staging area for their convoys. Women and girls from the Eastern Europe were being housed there. When the convoys came, they'd be crammed into cargo containers and hauled across the border into Germany. Go to any brothel along the border and have a look around. Chances are you'll find at least a few girls who spent some time in those warehouses. Slovakians, Hungarians, Poles, you name it. The mob has been smuggling them over for decades. But we were in a position to derail their operation, and we weren't going to let our new addition slow us down. We hit them by surprise, and we hit them hard. Fisher and Braun managed to take down the Banshee that they had patrolling the site. Wolf had reconnaissance drones overhead, providing battle tack feeds to the rest of us, and we picked off their gunmen one by one. They had numbers on us, but they didn't know where to hit us. When we had eyes in the sky, and we had cover on the concealment. Every time they thought they had a fix on us, we'd shift positions and hit them again. They might have well been fighting ghosts. Then Hoffman broke our cover and gave away our position. And after that, all hell broke loose. Wolf went down first. The sound of it will haunt me for the rest of my days. An explosion, a choked scream, and then a long, drawn-out gurgling sound. When he died, his drones went down with him, and then there were too many hostiles to track without them. I'll spare you the gory details, Sultan Mcfarkles. Suffice to say that it was my team was wiped out.
Ager's face clouds again. You can see the tears beginning to well within her eyes.
I watched Metzger die.
With a visible effort, she clamps down on her emotions and calms herself. When she speaks again, her voice is flat.
I took 3 rounds myself. Had to get myself back across the Oder-Neisse line into Germany. I almost died. So that's the story. My KSK career died with the rest of the team. Our mission was illegal after all, off the books. There was no going back for me, so I wound up here.
She looks you in the eye, her tone impassive.
Did that tell you everything you wanted to know, fearless leader? Are you satisfied now?
Yeah, I am. Thanks.
So tell me, what's your takeaway from the tale of from my tale of woe? I figured that you'd have got to have one.
Hmm. When Monica died, you blamed me because I was new to the team, but I'm not Hoffman, Jaeger. See, you're hung up on the past. If you want to survive at the shadows, you need to get over it. It doesn't matter what I think. What you think and how you act on it is what's important. Oh, boom! I like that one. She pauses to consider.
Normally, I'd call that a cop-out answer, but I guess that there's some truth to it. In any case, you don't need to worry about me, fearless leader. My baggage isn't going to hurt my job, performance, or anything. You might be thinking that I judged you too harshly in the beginning because Hoffman. You'd be right on that count. I probably did. But everything else I said after Monica died was justified, whether you want to believe it or not.
Well, that you were being a meanie head.
Giving you command of this team was a hasty decision, made for the wrong reasons. I stand behind that. I stand by that assessment. But now and then I've been watching. But between now and then I've been watching you like a hawk, and you've grown, Sultan Mcfarkles. You weren't the right choice to lead before. I still believe that, but you are now.
Thanks, Jaeger. Good talk.
Until next time.
So, Jaeger thinks we're cool now. Because we're cool people. Just one more person to talk to before getting on with our next mission. For the first time since you met her, Glory's expression seems to brighten. It's subtle, but it's there. You're sure of it. Sultan Mcfarkles, a pleasure as always. Need anything from me? Let's see. How are you doing, Glory? Golden as always, Sultan Mcfarkles. No problems here. If I didn't know any better, I'd think you were warming up to me. She studies her face a moment for responding. I suppose you might say that. I don't talk to many people, Sultan Mcfarkles. It just doesn't seem to be worth the effort. I don't really feel much anymore. Not since... She caresses the chrome of her forearm with a hand that made of articulated steel. This. If that's true, then why are you still talking to me? I suppose because you've shown an interest, and because you haven't let me push you away. She locks eyes with you. Her expression is blank. I don't want to mislead you, Sultan Mcfarkles. I still don't feel anything. I still don't feel anything. Not warmth, or friendship, or even trust. But I can appreciate the effort you're making. It's something new, and it's worthy of exploring. Sweet! So... You said things went bad when you turned 14. I'd like to keep talking about that. She stares at you with She stares at you, her face expressionless. No, I'd rather not. Why not? Because I don't see a reason to. The memories are unpleasant, and dredging them up doesn't serve any real purpose. You're wrong about that. The last time we talked, it had an impact on you. That's reason enough to continue. She pauses for a moment to consider your words, a troubled look on her face. I suppose that's true. Feeling discomfort is better than feeling nothing at all. You're right. Here's the deal, Sultan Mcfarkles. I'm going to talk, you listen. When I'm done, I'm done. No complaints, no arguments, and we'll see what happens. Deal? Deal. Right. The 1,000-meter stare creeps back into Glory's eyes. A moment later, she's locked away in her own head again, reliving memories that she had long since filed away. So a few days after my 14th birthday, I began to express, magically. You're magically active? I was. Glory gestures at her cyberware-riddled body. Not anymore. There's another long pause, and Glory becomes more animated. Anyway, I turned 14. I awakened. I don't even remember how my parents found out about it anymore. I think my dad caught me playing with the tiny city spirit that I coaxed out of a pile of garbage, something like that. With everything that happened afterwards, those days are kind of a blur. What I do remember is my father's response to the revelation that this little girl was a witch, a hex. He beat the living shit out of me with his fists, and then his belt, and then a claw hammer that he grabbed out of his toolbox. All the while, my mother was screaming and flailing at him. She took a couple of licks with the hammer, too. It's a miracle that you survived. I'm just lucky, I guess. So finally, after what felt like an hour, Dad stopped tuning me up with the hammer. I had broken ribs, a busted arm, I couldn't see out of my left eye, and my entire right side was covered with one giant bruise. I was bleeding all over the place, making a real mess of the carpet. The old bastard spat on me, his bleeding, crying daughter. He spat on me and told me that I was this truthful hooter, the devil's whore. Then he kicked me out of the house. As I was crawling away, my father told me that if he or any of his Kretzuritter brothers ever saw me again, they'd treat me as the Berlin chapter treats the enemies of God. If you're not familiar with how the Kretzuritters here in Berlin deal with the heretics, it's decidedly less pretty than what my dad and his buddies did to their victims. I got the hint, and the next morning I hitched a ride out of Stuttgart. You were a human girl with the presumably with an ID. Why didn't you go to the hospital? Yeah, why didn't you go to the hospital? Oh, I did, but not in Stuttgart. If I went to the local hospital with the kind of injuries that Dad gave me, there'd be questions. I couldn't afford to stay in the town any longer than I had to. Even if my dad wound up getting arrested for beating me, the rest of the local Kritzritters would have found me, and I would have wound up skinned alive and thrown into the Neckar. I wound up in Tübingen. I figured it'd be safe enough to be a safe enough place to find medical attention, and maybe to call home. It's not far from Stuttgart, but it was this huge student community that I figured I could blend into, and the university there has a decent magic department. My ride dropped me off at the university hospital, and they patched me up pretty good. I had some questions for me about how I got beaten up, but I lied and told them that I had been mugged, which played nicely into my complete lack of cash, credit, and identification. Glory pauses for a moment, looks down at the floor, then fixes her eyes on you. She is visibly tense. We're gonna fast forward through the next years. I was a kid on the street. I got by as best I could, doing whatever I had to do. The rest we can leave up to your imagination. Good? Of course, I only need to hear what you're comfortable talking about, nothing more. Good. Glory's clenched jaw relaxes somewhat, and the tension drains out of her shoulders. Thanks. So anyway, I lived on the street for a few years, got used to being hungry all the time, got used to getting rained on, got by. I was painfully aware that I had magical talents, but without any kind of training or guidance, I didn't really know how to use or develop them. Truth be told, they scared me, so I more or less ignored them. So I just sort of went like that, until a few days after my 17th birthday. Then I met Marta, and everything changed. Marta was a sweet girl. At first I took her for a street kid like me. Her clothes were a little ratty, and she seemed to be comfortable near me. But she also looked well-fed and happy, and those were two things that I hadn't been in years. We started hanging out, and before I knew what was happening, I was in love. There was a genuine attraction between Marta and me, I think. But I also think a lot of my affection for her came from the fact that she was the first person in years to give a damn about me. She cared, and I loved her for that. Glory pauses and looks flustered, her composure cracked. Keep going. She stares at you for a beat and then nods. A few ragged breaths later, she continues. Marta told me about a place where she'd been hanging out. She invited me to join her there. It was called Führerstelle, the fire place, and it was sort of a commune for disposed youth. It turns out that a lot of the street kids I had known over the years had moved there. The way that they had disappeared, I'd assumed that they had been kidnapped or killed, or had gone back to their parents. But there they were. I remember being kind of angry about it, like, how did everybody get the memo about this but me? Marta calmed me down. She was good at helping me work through my feelings, and I wound up following her to Führerstelle. Stelle. To a street kid, it was basically paradise. The owner, a guy named Harrow, had set up this little farm just outside Tübingen in the Schonbusch forest. The Schonbusch is officially a nature park, but not many people go there nowadays. Too much fear of paranormal animals, I guess. Anyway, park or not, it was plenty big enough for us to hide in. It was also safe and pretty, and the farm was well stocked with food. Most importantly, Estelle gave us a sense of community and stability that we'd never had on the street, and we loved Harrow for that. He became like a surrogate father to us. Glory pauses again, then you recognize the distinctive flush in her cheeks. She seems to have come out of her reverie once again. That's enough for now. I need to process all this, and I don't want to continue forward until I've had the chance to do that. I know that all this still happened years ago, but I guess it's still pretty raw to me. So I'm going to ask you to give me some space for a while. She turns away when the frost begins to creep back into her voice. We can pick it back up later. So we've talked to everybody. And what do we have to do now? No. I wanted to click that. Take the encrypted PD to Amsel. Raise $50,000 to pay. Oh, how much do we have in the Alice Fund? I can check. Check status on the Alice Fund. We're at 28,000. I am not depositing 5,000. That's my money. I guess we can give him the PDA. Ansel calls over his shoulder at the sound of your approach. His eyes are glued to this computer display. Sultan Mcfarkles from Mueller's should be on her way. But before you go to the meeting site, I have news. He glances at you. His words trail off. Upon seeing the expression on your face, Amsel's voice becomes grave. It can wait. Tell me what happened. Oh yeah, this is back when we got attacked. I had some trouble up on the U-Bahn. Somebody set up an ambush. Amsel pauses, then gives a curt nod. Truth be told, I've been expecting something like that. Expecting something like this might happen. I'm just glad that you made it out alive. Hand over the encrypted PDA. One of the attackers dropped this. Amsel takes the PDA from you and examines it. Yes. I should be able to extract some information from this. Give me a moment. He plugs the PDA into his computer and goes to work. A few moments later, he lets out a grunt of dismay. Well, Sultan Mcfarkles, I was able to recover a file, but unfortunately that's all I'll ever be able to pull off this thing. All that anyone will, to truth be told. It must have been running some kind of counter-intrusion software. The instant that I gained access, it bricked itself. Amstel disconnects the useless PDA and drops it to the ground. It clatters to a rest on the metal floor. What did you manage to pull off it? A comm file. The audio is all here, but it looks like we've only got video from one side of the conversation. Let's see what we have. He opens the file and a nightmarishly familiar face appears on the screen. Ooh! Adrian. Backmare. The voice bleats out from Ansel's speakers, filling the room. Adrian here. What's your status? Brockmeyer's image is garbled, but his voice sounds young and eager. Target acquired, sir. You were right. We spotted him on the U-Bahn, just like you said. Probably on his way to a job. As per your instructions, we're going to try and take him out on his way back. He'll be more vulnerable that way. Hopefully injured and low on ammo, too. But only time will tell. Good man. Proceed as instructed. Will do. Cosman is rigging up an ambush spot now. We'll try and make it quick. The orc with the nightmare face nods. Send me a comm when the job is done. Adrian out. The image on the computer screen dies. Amsel turns to face you. Well, our scarred friend makes an appearance. Sultan Mcfarkles, I guess, suspect that Green Winter's predictions are coming true. I believe that Schwinge is behind this. Under Amsel's patient exterior, you can feel worry that's eating at him. Be on your guard. You and the rest of your team. You made it through this attack relatively unscathed, but next time, you might not be so lucky. At least now we have a name to put to the face. Adrian. That's not all we have. As I was saying when you first walked in, I've been productive as well. I was able to uncover some new evidence in your absence, and coincidentally enough, the evidence pertains to our scarred friend. You might recall that I said I'd dig into Adrian's skin grafts. Well, I did, and that search finally bore fruit. One of the contacts outside Berlin handles the paperwork for private hospitals all across Germany. It's a dull, boring job, but it has some perks. Ansel pulls the file on his computer. A medical chart opens up on the screen. As it turns out, our scarred friend's skin grafts were performed at a legitimate hospital after all. Some good news for once. What do they say? Well, they're rather light on identifying information. Our friend's listed as Max Musterman, the local equivalent of John Doe. But they do cover his injuries in a great detail. Audrin's injuries were extensive. He had 2 broken ribs and a shattered pelvis. He had sustained third-degree burns over 60% of his body. Most damningly of all is he suffered from an acute radiation poisoning. His body absorbed over 5,000 millisieverts of ionizing radiation, a lethal dose without treatment. The information dries up at this point. We know that he was treated and discharged, but what happened after remains a mystery. He pauses for a moment, studying her reaction. Your thoughts? Hold nothing back. I'd like to hear everything that comes to mind. Audrin might have spent some time in the socks. That radiation poisoning didn't happen on its own. Agreed. 5,000 millisieverts is a lot of exposure. Short of basking in the glow of an unshielded reactor, I don't know how he had absorbed so much ionizing radiation without spending time in the socks. Alright, so Audrin was heavily irradiated, most likely from spending time in the socks. What else does this tell you? Well, those burns sound like Dragonfire, but if the Firewing burned Audrin, why would he be working for her now? I don't think that Audrin is working for the Firewing. I believe that he is serving her. On Greenwinter's second DVD, he mentions that, we haven't watched the second DVD. We'll have to watch that. He mentions that there is a cult within the socks that worships the Firewing, the Disciples of Cleaning Fire. I believe that Audrin belongs to this cult. There's nothing more dangerous than a zealot. My thoughts exactly. A hireling can sometimes be bribed or reasoned with. A pawn can be liberated. But if a Firewing soldiers took a look upon her as a goddess figure, nothing short of killing her will deter them. And even that might not stop them. So it's possible that Audrin is a dragon cultist. This seems to fit with much of the other information that we've uncovered. Did any other red flags jump out at you? The hospital couldn't ID Audrin, but either somebody covered his tracks for him or he was living completely off the grid. Indeed, if Audrin were a descendant of the Socks, a glowpunk, his lack of identifying information would make sense. Amsel adjusts his glasses. It's a working theory at any rate. So to sum it up, Audrin has possibly spent time in the Socks. It's possible that he even lived there as a member of the First Wind's dragon cult, and he's after you. Ansel pauses for a moment before continuing. In my mind, all of this reinforces one fact. We need to find Vauclair, and we need to do it fast. Agreed. Good. That's all the more reason to gather Alice's fee as quickly as possible. There's a buzzing sound from Paul's wrist. He lifts his hand to his PDA. And as luck would have it, Frau Mueller's has arrived. Best of luck meeting something, Mcfarkles. Remember, this is urgent. We need that money. I'm on it. So we can meet Frau Miller or do one of the missions that we have, or one of the other missions we still have stacked up. Which one will we do? We'll find out next time on Shadowrun Dragonfall. This episode was really just a lot of talking, and I still have to go over the DVDs, which I will do next episode. So there will be even more talking. Till then, guys, as always, you take care and have a good one.